Hello, Jonathan Shepard here. Um, so I had a buddy of mine reach out on Facebook with some questions that she thought it would be interesting for me to answer. Basically, a recurring theme through all of them is relationships, how my mental health um, or my mental illness affects my relationships. So I'm gonna try to dig deep for you guys because there's a lot of painful memories here. But um, so I have schizoaffective disorder, and one of the symptoms of schizophrenia is hostility towards loved ones. So basically, um, people think that I was alcoholic because I was kind of self medicating for my illness, and that may be true or not, but um, the truth is that I was alcoholic and I showed low moral character. There were girlfriends that I cheated on. I was just a horrible person for a long time. And where the lines are between what was just me being sick, what I mean, like, what do you 6.4% of it was like, how do you quantify a thing like that? Because disorganized thinking and depression, um, there's a relationship between mental health and moral character, I think. But to be fair, I'm not innocent. I'm not a saint of any kind. I've been a very bad person to many people, showing hostility when that wasn't warranted. Um, so yeah, I wrote down kind of the bullet points of the questions, but basically, I guess I'm someone who doesn't let people get too close. I like interacting with people and having friends, um, but if someone gets too close for comfort or moves me in a way that I don't like, I can be very hostile and nasty. Something I've done a lot of, as an example of what I'm talking about. Um, if someone offended me, I would like shut down and just freeze them out. Um, just delete them, not talk to them, not have anything to do with them. Um, but all of this stuff that I'm talking about um, has gotten much better. There's still one person in my life who I cut ties with, um, but that one is probably warranted. But yeah, no, I like having friends, doing social things. I just when friends or family get too close, I get hostile. I sort of panic. I sort of freak out um, in my head, and it usually manifests in me like shutting down and shutting people out. Um, but yeah, um, the next question was about loneliness. What role does loneliness play in my journey? Um, well, I don't. It's difficult to answer because I think everybody probably has a part of themselves that doesn't really see the light of day, a place inside themselves where they're lonely. And I have that, but maybe that's because my relationships aren't going as deep as they should, you know. So yeah, I mean, I do have some loneliness at times. Um, but yeah, honestly, sometimes um, if I feel lonely, I realize in those moments how much I deserve it. I deserve to be lonely for the people I've pushed away. But then I do have some friends in my life who are amazing. Friends I made after I was diagnosed, and friends who just were angelic in standing beside me, even through the worst of my alcoholism and my mental illness. So, but yeah, when I'm with friends and family and I'm just having a good conversation with somebody, I feel at home there in those moments. And so I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a lot more lonely than most people, because like I said, I think probably everybody feels they can't fully connect with anyone. I don't know, maybe that's not common, I don't know. But yeah, so that's what I have to say about the second question there. Are there particular people who helped me, like a nurse or somebody who said something that stuck with me? First and foremost, my mother is a daughter of God. She is a hero. Yeah, she found a way to get me into the treatment I needed, and she's been there on this bumpy road. Like right now, I'm having a hard time holding down a job, and there are many reasons for that, but through all the hardship, all the fights, all the everything, she held fast. It hasn't been perfect. It's been a messy and bumpy road, but my mom helped me a lot. And then there were other family members. I have an uncle who he was very supportive. He encouraged me in my writing. Because I like to write. I should say that, but he encouraged me in my writing and creative pursuits, and he really accessed his inner believer to share that with me, to just care about me in the most healthy way that he could. He came to visit me a number of times. I remember one time I was inpatient, and we were trying to figure out what medicine was going to work, and I was on olanzapine, and my uncle, I saw him walking into the psych ward, and he was filling out the guest sign-in sheet, and I just had this moment of clarity where I was just so happy to see him. And that moment really tipped off my doctor to understand that I was on the correct medication, and I've been on that medicine since 2015. So that's something that definitely stood out. And I remember before I went inpatient there, my mom took me down, and I was doing an interview, and it was kind of on the borderline of whether or not I could do outpatient or inpatient. But the nurse, at some point in the interview, I just leaned forward and I said, "Jesus Christ is Lord." And I think that was the moment that she knew I needed to go inpatient, that I needed to go inpatient. I mentioned doing a hybrid thing where you come in for therapy or the classes or whatever, but you're still outpatient, and she recommended I go inpatient, and she laid a hand on my shoulder and said, "You seem sad to me." And I was exhausted. My mind was going and going and going and not accomplishing anything. It was like a tornado in my skull. And when she said that, it was like I kind of just became aware of my emotional state, that I was in fact very weary. Yeah, and I have other family who have been absolutely wonderful. Put up with me despite the fact that nobody really knows how to deal with this stuff. Like, even doctors can have their flaws. So that was particular people who helped me. And how could psych hospitals improve in my experience? I would say, as much as possible, try to stick to the medicine and don't get swept up in the craziness. I had one doctor who, he had kind of a sourpuss attitude towards people, but I could tell what he was doing was he was maintaining an arm's length of professionalism between him and his patients, because there's an overlap between the mental, the spiritual, and the illness that a person might have. There's an overlap, and it's very easy to get swept up into it if you have even the slightest hint of a bias, and which everybody does. So no, yeah, I'd say the one thing that was kind of weird was I had a doctor who basically said I couldn't believe in spirits, which I think was crossing the line. I mentioned that in another video, but and I would say an even bigger thing that needs revision. Our mental health care system, as far as it goes, is, I think, as reasonably good as we can make it, just given the nature of things. I would say we need universal health care. But that's me being political, and I don't need to get too much into that. But if the resources, were there, I think that would help a lot. But what we really need to, I think, make revisions to is our criminal justice system. I don't think that, like I was just saying about how everybody has their own bias, like police have an impossible job, which is to maintain control of crisis situations while respecting people's civil rights, while some people are emotionally unwell for whatever reason, and going through a mental health crisis, or they're just emotional because of something traumatic that's going on. So I don't want to put the blame squarely on the police. I know socially there's kind of a reckoning going on with police and police misconduct. But basically I just think training for police officers should educate more in de-escalation. It would be good if there was like a certification of someone who knows how to handle having a mental health crisis, someone on staff. And I think, and these things may exist already in one way or another, and this is just my personal thoughts. I also think that counseling would probably be good, to kind of take the stress off by, like, more days off or mandatory days off just to regroup. And then police officers should probably have a counselor available that they're actually required to speak to. Because, I mean, they deal with the worst of humanity day in and day out. And so I think that those are things that could help. So I'd say on a broader social range, that's probably a place that we could start. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm going to do another video on faith. That was another question that my friend brought up, but I think it should get its own video, and it's probably going to be some fireworks. So stay tuned. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, have a great rest of your day.